There has been data for years. When your car spews out toxins from the back of the car, because it does, fine particulate matter, it used to be much worse, right? It used to be leaded gasoline.
Yeah.
It does so because it's burning a fossil fuel.
Yeah, why do you not keep your car running with the garage door closed?
You don't do that because of the CO2 that emanates out of burning a fossil fuel in your garage. Eventually, it will kill you. And by eventually, I mean within a couple hours.
Yeah.
But that's if if your garage is sealed up. But even if it doesn't kill you, it could seriously damage you over time. That is what apparently researchers have known about gas stoves for quite some time. And there's increasingly, there's data that shows that it contributes to childhood asthma. I've seen figures ranging from like 14 to 40% of childhood asthma is a function of domestic pollution created by the burning of a fossil fuel in like an apartment. It's, you have it in a big house, there's a lot more air, maybe you have an exchange system, but in a New York City apartment, the blower that I have over my gas stove just takes the air and just puts it.
It does nothing.
It doesn't do anything.
It does nothing.
It doesn't do anything. And I was not aware of this information at all. It's just coming out now because the Consumer Protection Bureau is starting to contemplate maybe creating some type of ban in, at the very least, new construction on gas stoves because it contributes to asthma and to neurological problems. But some people are on their, sort of light bulb jihad, as they call it. And one of them is, of course, Tucker Carlson.
Dates was a major mistake. If they can tell you what to wear, they can probably tell you what to inject into your body. And if they can do that, there's really nothing they can't do. They can control every aspect of your life, no matter how intimate. And of course, now they do, because they want to. As you probably read by now, the Consumer Product Safety Commission has suggested the government will soon ban gas stoves. Now,
pause it again. That's not a ban on gas stove. They're not going to come and steal your gas stove from your cold, dead hand.
Not yet right away. Or not right away. Go on.
But just like every other safety code, like we did with light bulbs, like we did with the shower heads.
I haven't felt free since I was able to emit chlorofluorocarbons into the atmosphere.
Like we did with the refrigerators. And at one time, what we probably did with things like toilets and saying that there needs to be running water for you to get a building code in your apartment building. You can no longer just have, buckets where you dump the crap out the window.
Yeah. Freedom died with lead paint.
Freedom died with lead paint and the lack of an ability to take a crap in a bucket and dump it out your window onto the city streets.
The founding fathers are rolling over in their graves.
That is not what we envisioned. We wanted everyone to sit on a bucket and dump it out their window. But here is Tucker Carlson saying this is going to be the end of freedom.
Because they want to. As you probably read by now, the Consumer Product Safety Commission has suggested the government will soon ban gas stoves. Now, gas stoves have been a staple of American kitchens for more than a century. You may have one in your home. You may have
pause it for one second. Incidentally, they're not even a staple of kitchens now.
Yeah.
There is the majority of stoves in apartments and houses are electric. That's just a fact. But okay, stoves are a staple of kitchens. That's true. So aren't sinks. Good.
Government will soon ban gas stoves. Now, gas stoves have been a staple of American kitchens for more than a century. You may have one in your home. You may have grown up with one. But apparently, and nobody knew this until like a week ago, these stoves are a hidden hazard that we must eliminate. So why do we suddenly know that gas stoves are a hidden hazard? Why did no one tell us this before? Where'd this information come from?
Pause it. You know why nobody told you before? Because news outlets, like the most popular one in the country, apparently didn't bother to look around for this type of information. That's one of the reasons why we didn't know.
Yeah, also because scientific research happens, and they came up with this, they researched it, and this is what they found.
42 municipalities in the country have already begun to phase out gas stoves in new buildings. Washington state lawmakers intend to end all use of natural gas by 2050. Why might this be happening? Maybe if it wasn't so knee-jerk by these people to assume that this is an infringement because of global warming, they would actually realize, like, oh, we just have a poison-making machine in our kitchens.
Or it's because they want to control your life. It's authoritarian. They know
want to control your life.
If they come for the gas stoves, it'll be easier for them to throw you into the gulag.
Like, the people that want to control your life are the ones that want to obscure the fact that this fossil fuel home implement has been damaging you.
We should just say,
Exactly.
in the 1970s, only 30% of homes had a gas stove. It's about 50% as of 2019. But apparently, in the deep blue states of California, New York, and Illinois, it's over 70% of homes are on gas stoves.
Yeah, it is really New York. I didn't have a gas stove. Like, moving here was the first time I ever had to deal with a gas stove.
Same with me. Same with me. Good.
Hazard that we must eliminate. So why do we suddenly know that gas stoves are a hidden hazard? Why did no one tell us this before? Where'd this information come from? Well, as the Washington Free Beacon has reported, government regulators are citing a study from a group called the Rocky Mountain Institute. And the Rocky Mountain Institute recently partnered with the Chinese to implement a, quote, economy-wide transformation of America. Okay. So the Chinese government, by proxy, gets to decide how you cook your dinner, what appliances you're allowed to have in your own kitchen. That's right, declared the Washington Post, and it's a good thing. The hidden hazards of these appliances, the Post declared, with obvious relief, is finally getting attention. Finally! We've been waiting for it! You can imagine the celebration in the Post newsroom where they've been fretting about gas stoves for decades, and finally the science has caught up to their concerns.
This is really astonishing. I just want to, the UCLA Fielding School Public Health, commissioned by the Sierra Club, did a study. Paper included a meta-analysis of existing epidemiological studies, one of which estimated that kids in homes with gas stoves are 42% more likely to have asthma than children whose families use electric.
But where is this information coming from?
The 2014 simulation by the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory found that cooking with gas for 1 hour without ventilation adds up. And of course, that's not an issue for Tucker. I guarantee you he's got plenty of ventilation in the event that he has a gas stove in one of his 4 houses. Adds up to 3,000 parts per billion of carbon monoxide to the air, raising indoor concentrations by up to 30% in the average home. Shelley Miller, University Colorado Boulder environmental engineer who studied indoor air quality for decades, explains that when a stove burns, this is from a Mother Jones piece, stove burns natural gas just as when a car burns gasoline. That combustion reaction oxidizes molecules into the air to create nitrogen oxides, which can make us sick. Cooking, she says, is the #1 way you're polluting your home. It's causing respiratory, cardiovascular health problems. It can exacerbate the flu and asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease in children. Between the stove emissions and other household chemicals, you're basically living in this toxic soup. Continue on with his laughing about it.
The celebration in the Post newsroom where they've been fretting about gas stoves for decades, and finally the science has caught up to their concerns. Well, unfortunately for the Washington Post newsroom and the Biden administration, and most of all the Chinese government, not everyone in America was immediately on board with the idea of getting rid of your gas stoves because they're a hidden hazard. Many people kind of like gas stoves, and they were pretty annoyed, thank heaven, that someone might want to take them away on the basis of one piece of garbage science pushed by the Chinese government. So the whole ban your gas stoves thing became a PR disaster for the Democratic Party, and they responded accordingly. No, they didn't pull back and say, oh, we're not going to take away your gas stoves. No. They pretended it never happened. In fact, anyone who is worried about the government banning your gas stoves, they told you, is an illiterate mouth breather and possibly a dangerous QAnon militant. The problem is not that we're taking your gas stoves, it's that you're worried that we might take your gas stoves. You freak! Watch this.
The GOP's latest culture war nonsense, the imaginary ban on gas stoves that they're all getting mad about over on Fox.
We've even gotten to the point where a debate over gas stoves and whether or not they affect childhood asthma has turned into the fear of jackbooted thugs breaking into people's homes.
To have gas stoves pried out of their cold dead hand, equating it with the priorities of God and country and, what have you.
This is just about purely the trolling that we have in Republican politics right now, right? There was the gas stove initiative that they were performatively outraged about.
Well, this is really delusional drivel from the harem of the unhinged over at Fox News.
You have Ron DeSantis, so I'm going to protect your gas. Everybody going to talk about gas stoves, It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Right-wingers who had nothing else to worry about just one day decided to create a moral panic about gas stoves. They just imagine that someone might be coming for their gas stove.
Pause it. It's so hard to imagine the right doing that. Pause that thing. It's so hard to imagine the right to do that. Do you remember Sharia law? Do you remember the multitude of Republican-controlled legislatures that passed laws prohibiting Sharia law in their state?
Yeah.
Do you remember, I don't know, the caravan that was going to take away some, lake houses in Michigan
We're
or
living
in Minnesota?
through critical race theory panic right now. These laws that are being put in place to make sure that our children are not indoctrinated with critical race theory.
What about the Dr. Seuss book banning? What about the complete destruction of women's sports by trans people? I mean, what about this horrific age we're living in with these light bulbs?
Oh, yeah.
That are no longer incandescent.
Donald Trump on the stump, like, you have to flush your toilet like 4
How could
5
anybody,
10 times.
even in any way, think that conservatives would just create some boogey man, appliance monster out of thin air? How did that even happen?
Yeah, I mean, by the way, notice that the only mention of asthma thus far in this segment, when he's using those clips from MSNBC to make fun of liberals, right? That's the only time it's mentioned, right? He doesn't want to expand on the point that they have there as a journalist.
Of course not.
Right.
Oh, and Vermont Ben reminds us, the genderless potato, Mr. Potato Head, or formerly Mr. Potato Head.
The M&Ms.
The M&Ms.
The hot M&Ms.
Or sexy, hot.
Or what about Ghostbusters? Why are we not still talking about Ghostbusters? And some other, is there going to be some other, woman superhero? I mean,
the light bulb thing is the that's the underlying point, though. Like, this isn't just out of nowhere. It's because a fossil fuel product was threatened by science.
Exactly. That is exactly where it comes from. They do the bidding of the oil companies and natural gas. And incidentally, all of the gases are natural. But this one is natural. So how could it be in any way problematic to have it burning in an open flame in your apartment?
Yeah, so if the left is beholden to the Chinese and they're doing their work to take over America subtly, I mean, no, Tucker Carlson doesn't look inward that he's doing the bidding of, say, like the Saudis or the Russians who are reliant on oil money, right? That's what that is.
I don't know if he has a problem with that.
He's carrying well, exactly. But that's the point.
All right, continue here.
He has a freak out here, Bradley? Great.
Everybody going to talk about gas stoves, It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Right-wingers with nothing else to worry about just one day decided to create a moral panic about gas stoves. They just imagined that someone might be coming for their gas stoves. Maybe because the Consumer Product Safety Commission of the Biden administration said they were coming for your gas stoves. But noticing that is not just a sin. Oh, no. It's worse than that. It's another battle of the culture wars. Say the people who elevated bathroom politics and people's sexual orientation to the very top of the queue of political concerns. They're worried about a culture war. Stop with the culture wars. In other words, submit. And right on cue, the Washington Post took up the new battle cry. Gone were the stories about how we need to ban gas stoves. In their place were attacks on Republicans for worrying that someone might try to ban gas stoves. Quote, GOP thrusts gas stoves, Biden's green agenda, into the culture wars. Oh, not the culture wars.
You know, like this is the way that he knows that he can get angry, is by doing his fake laugh thing. I mean, it is maniacal and it's twisted. He's a twisted dude. Listen, he doesn't give a crap. He knows, without even looking at the data, that 14% of kids who get asthma from gas stoves, the vast majority of them are low income. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't care an iota about those people any more than he did the so-called, in his words, monkeys in Iraq. Mm-hmm. He doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. Completely irrelevant.
He'd be doing this for cigarettes, 50 years ago.
He did it the other day.
He sort of is. He's sort of still doing it.
He did it the other day.
With Troy Nails of the Cigar Caucus in the house.
Yep.
He did it the other day. Tucker Carlson just, I don't know, evidence number 5,000 that he's just a despicable human being.
Truly.
Just a truly despicable human being.